Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the BS podcast. We have a treat for you today. I am so excited. But before we get into that, if this is your first time listening, welcome. Welcome to the amazing chaos that is Between the Sundays. So here at BS, we are keeping it real. We always want to go back to how do we follow Jesus in real life? What does that mean when you're out of church? Because let's face it, all the tea happens Monday through Saturday, right? So we are doing, you might have been listening to Monday Momentum or our current events or our Q&As, but this is a special episode because we have an interview today. And I know you guys are going to love Nichole as much as I do. I have had the privilege of building a friendship with this incredible lady. And she's just got a great story of lots of ups and downs, but so much redemption and leaning on Jesus. So I know that you guys are going to leave this episode feeling inspired. So without further ado, Nichole, tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. What should somebody know about you?
Oh, goodness.
Other than you're a beast and or what is that? A sucker for pain? You love the torture?
Oh, gosh. Yes. Yes. Love the running. Love the running.
Yes. And mom of 3.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. 3 young adults.
That's crazy.
Young adults, 23, 20, and 15.
So people are looking at you right now. Like, how old are you?
41. Just turned 41.
Oh, my gosh.
Just
Such a
turned
young
41.
mama.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Which we're obviously going to get into that, too. But
Yeah.
what do you love to do? What are you looking forward to right now?
What am I looking forward to?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. All the events that are coming up for just my personal goals of high rocks competitions and running my first marathon.
Love that.
Yep. And building the coffee shop with my daughter that we have talked about previously.
Yes.
All those fun little things that are coming up. So yeah, for the next 3 months, that is what
That's
I'm
amazing.
looking forward to.
Wait a second. It's your first marathon, but you've definitely run further than 26 miles.
Yes.
You've done so it's your first marathon, but you've done an.
Okay, so it is my first marathon actually training for this.
Okay.
I jumped into a 30-miler trail run at Forest Park, and I would never recommend that for anybody to do, by the way. But I did do that, completed it, took 8 hours.
Yeah, but you completed it.
But I completed
and you
it.
didn't die. You're here, well and alive.
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing. I think that people don't understand. They probably are rolling their eyes because if you listen to me and Dale on here, you know there's something about like that mental toughness with fitness that can bleed into so many other areas of your life, which is 100% like speaks true to you. So let's kind of get into your childhood for people that are listening, because I know there's someone out there that is going to love hearing this because they're going to be like, oh my gosh, if Nichole can find her way to Jesus through that, then like I would love that. I think you just offer so much more hope when we share these kinds of stories. So get into your childhood a little bit.
Oh,
give us your background.
Okay, so childhood for me, it actually really wasn't that bad. From my 0, I guess you'd want to say, to probably 5. It was perfect. I had my mom was my hero. She was so beautiful, and my daddy just worked so hard. We had the best childhood. And then in 1990, which I was 5, we got into a car accident, and a guy had T-boned us, and it was really weird because I thought he was drunk, growing up and stuff, but it wasn't. I ended up finding out that he had said that he was mentally ill, and he said that he was told to ram our car.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow. And you were 5?
I was 5.
And siblings?
I had 3 siblings at the time.
And what order are you? Are you the youngest?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that accident actually created the downfall for my family because my mom had a lot of head trauma in that. And during the years after that, she had went to pills, and she had started getting addicted to those. And then it had opened up the door for drugs and things like that to come into our life. So from 5 to probably 8, it looked beautiful on the outside, but on the inside, little did I know that basically hell was starting for my life.
Wow. So as a little kid, what were some of the biggest changes that you noticed to where you're like, this doesn't feel the same as it did before the accident? Like looking back now, can you pinpoint a few things where you noticed this is a big change?
My mom became more distant. my family, my parents at the time, they became a lot more distant with us. My grandma had moved in, so she started taking care of us. My dad was working a lot. He was trying to build his career as a Malala police officer.
Yeah.
And my mom just wasn't her normal uppity self. You know, as a kid, you see that in your parents when they're like throwing parties and, you know, birthday parties and holiday parties. And my mom was huge with that. And then it was slowly fading, and it wasn't the same. And I knew something was wrong, but I didn't know what.
Yeah.
And I was little. Nobody was talking to us.
Well, in that age, I was going to say that's old enough. That is when you start to remember things.
Yes.
Now, as the oldest, did you have like a pressure to take care of your other siblings
Oh,
at all?
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you don't realize as an older child that you're taking that on.
Yeah.
But that's something that just naturally came to me as being their protector. Sure. You know, we would get in trouble, and the punishment would be, you know, plank positions. My dad called them push-up positions. I'll tell you what, at like 6 years old, I had abs because I was always doing the push-up position.
You had a head start in the fitness industry.
But and you know, and then we got spanked with the belts and things like that.
In the plank position?
No.
Oh,
just
okay.
as punishments, like just as
Gotcha.
punishments.
Okay.
So yeah, so anytime like the kids would do something wrong, I would take the fall for it because I didn't want them to get hurt. So I took the protector side for it.
Is this two younger sisters, brother, sister? What did you have?
2 sisters and a brother.
2 sisters and brother. Wow. So there was 4 of you.
At that time, yes.
That's a lot to take care of.
Yeah.
Was your relationship with your grandma pretty good, or what was that like?
No, relationship with my grandma, she was great. She was great. She's the one that did the flashcards with us, you know, for school. I don't know if you remember flashcards, but doing flashcards, coming home and doing our DOLs and sitting down doing homework with us. She was the one that was basically parenting us at that time.
Wow. And did your mom, so during this time, was she like starting to kind of like nap, keep to herself? Like
it was more just keep to herself and just very, like I said, very distant. You know, she was in her room a lot and then not even home at times. Wow. And there was times she wouldn't come home, and I never understood that either as a kid. You know, I would ask, where's mom? You know, like, where's your mom at? And nobody knew, or they did know and they just didn't want to tell us because just, you know, like I said, we were young. But I remember everything. So I was like, why couldn't anybody tell us? Because that would have made more sense to us than just not knowing.
Right. That's so hard at that age. Probably like that feeling of abandonment. That would have been so hard. What was their marriage like during that time?
I don't really recall. It wasn't something that I ever really paid attention to at that age. I mean, I think at this point I was about 8. Yeah, I was about 8 when I really started understanding that she was doing something bad, drugs-wise. I didn't really quite understand drugs yet, but yeah, I was 8 years old.
It is wild to me. In my background with the state, working with teens, and then obviously I have people close to me that had parents that were addicts. And it's amazing to me when they say the age that they started like realizing. It's crazy because I think of an 8-year-old, that's my oldest. That is so little to know and to start like piecing things together and being like, oh, when they take that, this makes them this way. Like, it's just something that most kids hopefully don't have to worry about. And you did. So I'm so sorry that you went through that. Was there anything that was like, you felt like you were shielding from siblings at all? Like as far as like trying to keep it under wraps?
It was more... So as the oldest, and that was at 8 years old, not only did I find out that or realize my mom was doing something, my dad was a DARE officer at the time.
Wow.
So I knew a little bit about drugs, so I was kind of piecing it together. But at 8 years old, that's when she left as well. But that wasn't my first time feeling abandoned. I had previously, I think I was about 6 or 7 when I had found out that I was adopted. And so that's the first time at that age that I felt like, why didn't my dad want me, you know, at that young age, and not understanding the whole reasoning of being adopted. And I had a great dad that took me in, but still, you know, as a kid, you're like, why didn't this parent want me?
Right.
And then, you know, then when my mom had left, it was again, why didn't she want us? Why didn't she want to stay with us? Why weren't we good enough? Well, you don't realize at that age that drugs just take a huge toll on their own life.
Right.
And they want that more than anything else.
Wow. So your biological dad was out of the picture, but you had always thought that your adoptive dad was your dad up until that point. But your mom was your biological.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So how did you find out?
Funny story. So I had asked to look at, I went to school and these kids were taking baby books to school for show and tell, their birth books. And so I asked my mom when I came home, I was like, do I have a baby book? Like, I'd like to see it. And she's like, yeah. And so she showed it to me. Well, in my baby book, it said Nichole and Amaya, and my last name's Barnhart. So I was like, who is this? And that's when they told me it was me. And then I had another dad.
Wow. They
So
just
just that way, and then no explanation. So I had to sit with that. I had to sit with that for a very long time until I mean, I still, even at 41, I'm like, why would a parent want to do that? But you're never going to get the full truth from the parents because they always want to give you a different side. But yeah, even at that age, that's how I found out I was adopted.
Wow.
And I never looked at my siblings. I had 4 siblings at the time, and I never looked at them differently. They were blonde, white. I'm dark and black hair.
Brown, as we established before this.
Never looked at them as different
Yes.
because that's not how they were my siblings. This was my family.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And then did that shift after?
Oh, yeah. I started seeing them
6,
differently.
7?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. And it shows you that as a kid at a young age, you don't look at color and somebody being different than you. And as soon as I found out that I was adopted, the whole thing, it was like the veil had been lifted, and I see them as, oh my God, they have blonde hair and they're white, and I'm literally black hair and brown. It was the strangest thing.
Yeah, man. Oh, Nichole. So walk us through up to like the teen years. What did you, like, looking back now with all the knowledge you have and the self-work you've done, what do you see happening from like that 8-year-old up to the teen? Like, walk us through those years.
Oof. Those years got bad. Those years got pretty bad. So from 8 to 10, I rebelled. I was going through it. I didn't understand, my family's dividing up the drugs and things like that. I acted out in school, and my dad was focused on his career at the time, and so I was really hard to handle. And I don't think I was that hard, but okay, whatever.
Yeah,
I was pretty hard to handle.
A lot.
And he had kicked me out of the house at 10 years old and had me go live with my aunt. And so that
just
was
reinforced another like abandonment.
Yeah, that was the third time. And so from 8 to 10, I was basically trying to survive and feel wanted at the same time. Like I wanted somebody that wanted me, and my own parents didn't want me. So then when I went and lived with my aunt, that was at 10 years old, that was, I was doing everything I could to basically earn my keep. I would be like, do chores out in the yard and on the farm. And I wanted them to want me. I wanted them to keep me. So at 10 years old, I worked really hard to just stay quiet, sit still, and do whatever I had to do to not get kicked out.
Wow. Can you walk us through like the day your dad was like, okay, we're done, you're moving out? What happened? What did that even look like? I'm picturing a little 10-year-old. Like, what was too much for him to handle?
So the acting out was, I was getting kicked out of school. I was starting fights in school, got kicked out, got transferred to another school, started a fight there first day, got expelled. And that was just kind of too much for him. So then I told him I wanted to live with my aunt, and he made it happen. And we're driving, and I remember it was so awkward and so quiet. And I was sitting in the back seat, and we get into her driveway, and I had my little backpack, and he's just like, you have to make this work because you have nowhere else to go. I was like, oh, shoot. I was a 10-year-old, and I just remember sobbing because I was like, this really wasn't what I wanted. But I was 10.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was just like, all right, I had to do what I got to do so I don't get kicked out.
Is that when you started really tying like almost like your worth to what you could do? Like, I can do this and they're going to keep me in. That's so heartbreaking because you look back as an adult now and you see those fights and those things like just such a hurting child, like a cry for help, And obviously any 10-year-old's going to be missing their mom really deeply too.
Oh, yeah.
There's just something about moms that we need. So that's the big gaping hole already. And
knowing that she was doing what she was doing, and that was also a huge stressor because I didn't know if she was alive, didn't know where she was at, hadn't talked to her. And so that was a big burden to carry as a 10-year-old as well.
Oh my gosh, it's a big burden for an adult, let alone a 10-year-old. So you move in with your aunt. What's that like?
So I moved in with my aunt, and she put me in school. It was a while. Had been a while since I had been in school because I kept getting kicked out. So she put me in school, and I mean, I was just like I said, I was overdoing it at home. I was like outside cleaning and doing plants and doing the farm and so finally she sat me down and she's like, you don't have to work for your keep. She's like, we're not. Oof.
Yep. Let it out. Should have had Kleenex ready for you.
Know.
I know better.
But yeah, she's like, you're not disposable. We want you. That was the first time that I'd felt safe. To be a kid, that it was safe.
Obviously touches you now. So I imagine as a 10-year-old hearing that, what did that do for you?
It took a while to believe that because, I mean, there's 3 or 4 years where you couldn't trust adults. I couldn't trust adults because they just left. Yeah. No, so there was a few years that that were imprinted on me. That it took a while to believe that somebody actually meant what they said.
Wow. Yep. Nope. That makes so much sense because your trust had been shattered.
Oh yeah, broken.
Oh, so you're at your aunt's. Walk us through up to teen years. What does that look like?
So I was with my aunt. I was with her for about a year and a half, which everything was perfect. Life was great. That's when I got to go to church. I learned about God, learned how to pray, and a little bit more about the Bible. My aunt and my uncle were always talking about Jesus in the house. So I was like, okay, all right, like what is this? So I really got to build that relationship at a young age, with my faith. And so I was with her for about a year and a half. And then my dad came back and took me back and made me go live with my mom at that time. So I was 10, 11, so about 12-ish, 13, I got pulled from the place that I was the safest to go live with my mom. And that's...
What was going through your mind when you were going to be moving in with your mom and you hadn't seen her in years?
I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was terrified. I was kicking and screaming. I didn't want to go. I was happy where I was at. I was safe.
Yeah.
I was able to just calm. My nervous system was able to just be calm and as a young, you don't have a choice. As a kid, you have to go where your parents tell you got to go.
Were your parents going to be back together at the time?
No.
Or okay, so it was just your mom. Were your siblings going there too?
No.
Just you.
Just me.
Okay.
Just me.
Okay. And you would have been, you said 12 at this time?
Yeah, about 12, 13.
That is the roughest age for any change, let alone something like this.
Yes.
So let's keep going. What was that like?
It got worse. I was in hell again, is what I always called it. She had a beautiful house in Oregon City, and on the outside it was well manicured and beautiful, and on the inside was hell. It was drugs and alcohol, and
so she hadn't gotten clean.
No, she had not gotten clean here.
Do you now? As an adult, I know we're bouncing around a little bit, but did your dad ever explain what made him say, nope, actually, I don't have any proof that she's clean, but you're going to live with her and you're going to move? What was the reasoning behind this?
I recently have asked him because I've gotten to the point in life the last couple of years that I've been able to kind of reopen up some of this. And, he says he didn't know. He thought she was clean. And he thought he was doing the best thing for me, and so he, said he didn't know, and just kind of left it at that.
Okay, Sorry to interrupt you, but
You're
okay.
fine.
So perfect house on the outside, completely broken on the inside.
Oh, yes. Yeah. There's a lot of drugs, a lot of people in and out, a lot of alcohol going on, a lot of things that a kid shouldn't see at 13.
Yeah.
And a lot of times no food. You know, so it was because that wasn't a priority to her, to, you know, anybody, I guess, that's dealing with addiction. It's not a priority. And so you know, went hungry a lot of the times. I didn't have a room. My room was a closet, the coat closet. So I made it into like my little safe space. When I was with my aunt, she taught me to make even the smallest space like your safe space, like your prayer closet. And so I had, as a 13-year-old, I made my closet as this is where I sleep. This is where no evil's going to touch me. Like, this is the mindset that I had to have going into this house.
Did she have people living in the house too, or were they just kind of in and out to be using?
There was
partying?
people living there, and there was just more going in and out than anything. I mean, the things that were going on in that house, not only were they making the drugs, they were selling the drugs. They were also doing fraudulent checks. They also, you know, like I said, they had alcoholism going on. They had a lot of just evil people coming in doing seances and things like that, which I thought was the strangest thing in the world.
Oh wow!
Trying
So there was some like
there was some weird stuff.
witchcraft.
Yes, there was
okay.
some weird stuff going on in this place.
Wow.
And my
And
closet was my safe
you
space.
had obviously like you'd experienced Jesus with your aunt. Did you go through a time during these teen years where you were angry with God, or was that something you could lean on? What did that look like for you? What
It was a little bit of both. So,
Yeah.
you know, as a 13, 14-year-old, I was angry that I was in the situation I was in. I mean, I remember I would pray to God, just kill me. Just kill me now. I don't want to be here. But then I leaned on him a lot more too. Like I said, my closet was my safe space. So I would go in, and my aunt gave me this Bible, and I would just, for whatever reason, Psalms was like the easiest book to read. So I would open it up, and I don't even know what book or chapter I was reading. I just opened up and start reading and start praying in my little closet. And, you know, it was, so I leaned on God more, but I was angry that I was in that situation. I was angry that the adults that were supposed to protect me are keeping me here.
What was it like talking to your mom? Was there ever like moments where you begged her to stop?
No, I don't recall ever begging her to stop. I recall her asking her to let me go back. Just let me go back. Like, do what you want to do, but I want to go back to my aunts.
Yeah.
And she just wouldn't. I was a possession to her at the time. And she told me that. I'm hers, and she wanted me there, and I'm going to stay there. Okay?
Gosh. Oh, Nichole, I'm so sorry. So you're with your mom, and tell us, early teen years, keep going. What happens next?
So yeah, so you know, we're in this Oregon City house, and where was I?
What did school look like during
I didn't
this
go to
time
school.
too? You didn't go to school.
They didn't allow me to go to school.
They didn't allow you to
My
go to
mom,
school.
No, she
What?
did not allow me to go to school.
What
did
in the
not.
world was the reasoning behind that?
She just didn't want me to go to school. She did not. So I had the edge, and I wanted to go to school. I wanted to make friends. I loved socializing, but it wasn't anything she wanted me to do. We moved around a lot. I remember bouncing from Oregon City to Hillsborough to Gresham to Seaside, back to Malala, everywhere. We were always.
Were boyfriends involved, like as far as like the moving, like the reason, oh, I'm going to date this guy in this place?
No, she was with my stepdad. They're still together now. But
Wow.
I had a stepdad at the time, and they were together, and they were in it together, doing what they were doing. But yeah, no, school wasn't an option.
So you pretty much had only had school up to 12?
Yeah.
My goodness. What was she saying? I'm going to homeschool you, or just nope, no school?
No school.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So did this go all the way up until?
It went, well, yeah. So it went up until Well, yeah, I didn't. I tried to go back to school right before I got pregnant with my son, and I was 16, so high school. So I literally went from like what is 12, like
Yeah.
middle school, like sixth grade or something, or seventh grade to high school. I
So
didn't.
you skipped all of
Oh,
middle
all of
school
it.
and then you finally were able, like, she was like, all right, fine, you can go to high school.
Yeah.
That is bananas.
Tell you what, that was a whole new culture shock
Oh
right
my
there.
gosh, yeah. And talk about like the academics. Was
Oh
that
yeah.
so intimidating to get into something where you'd been out for years? Walk us through that. What was that like?
I basically, I basically just used it as my social thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Which you are very social. If you know Nichole, she's a social butterfly. So you
Yeah.
obviously weren't lacking in that, which is amazing
Yeah.
considering you were kind of isolated. I mean, you're around people, but it's not the same as like peers. So the fact that you were able to go and adapt socially like that, that says a lot about you and your like perseverance and resiliency. That's amazing. So you weren't fighting anymore by the time you were a freshman, or were you still getting into fights?
I was not fighting
Yeah,
anymore.
you
I was
put up
not.
the gloves.
I was not. I was not fighting anymore. I think at that point, or I believe at that point, I was just kind of beat down
Yeah.
and just self-esteem that
Mm.
I just didn't know who I was. I didn't know.
How could you?
The only thing I knew what I wanted in life was never to be like my mom. That was my goal. I'm like, I never want to be like this person ever.
Did you have an aversion to like partying, any sort of drug? Like, because high schoolers typically are kind of dabbling, they're going to try something. Did you have a complete, like, I'm against this? Or were you a little bit more weaker backbone because you're like, I want to make friends? Like, what were you like in that?
I was completely against it.
Yeah.
Completely. I mean, I watched it from the inside just rip apart.
Yeah.
My childhood rip
Yep.
apart. My mom, who is no longer the same. And yeah, I didn't touch a thing. I was terrified to take Tylenol.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't touch a thing.
Wow. So obviously this also is going into a teen mom story, but so walk us up. So freshman year, so 16. So would that have been sophomore year?
It would have been, yeah.
It was sophomore year. Okay. So walk us through it.
Our sophomore year?
Yep.
Oh, boy.
Unless there's more in the freshman year we need to get into.
No. No, it was about the summer of freshman that I met Derek,
Yeah.
my husband at the time. And he was my saving grace through a lot of it. So he knew everything that was going on because I was just upfront and honest with him. Like, this is what I live in. And at that time, I was living in Hillsboro, and I met him at a party in Colton. My sister was going to. So I went because my sister was there to make sure she was good.
Wow.
And we talked for a good 6 months to a year just on the phone. And I fell in love with him right then. And of course, probably about another 6 months goes by, and we started hanging out.
Yeah.
Well, hanging out led to
Yeah.
a baby.
Wow.
Got pregnant at 16, and I was horrified. I was so mad because my mom got pregnant with me at 16, and I had made a declaration that I was not going to be like my mom. And so at 16, I was like, oh my God, I'm just like her. Wow. I'm just like her. I hate this. I hate, and I prayed God just kill the baby. I didn't want to be pregnant. Obviously, that didn't happen.
Right.
And
did you ever consider an abortion?
Of course. I went to the abortion clinic. I had my mom because I was still living with her. And we had moved to Canby at this time. And I had my mom, who was higher than a kite, take me to the Lovejoy in Portland. And I was like, I got to get rid of him. I can't do this. There's no way I can raise this kid in the environment that I'm in. I have no education. I don't even know what I'm doing. I have no family that will support me. How am I going to raise this child? And I was against abortions. Yeah. And so I'm at the clinic, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, God, I don't know what to do. And just crying out. And I'm getting, laying on the bed, getting ready to have the procedure. And the nurse lady had showed me the ultrasound. And she's like, here's your baby. I was like, all right. So at 16, I made a decision to keep him. said, all right.
Wow. Just from seeing
Yeah.
the ultrasound.
Just from seeing the ultrasound.
Oh my, so powerful.
And
Wow.
I sat up and I said, I can't do this. Every bone in my body is saying, don't do it. And I sat up and she said, can I pray with you? I said, absolutely. And she took my hands and we prayed. And I walked out of there and we had pay phones. We didn't have cell phones really at the time. And I remember I called my husband at the time and I said, I'm keeping him and you're more than welcome to be a part of it, but it's going to be a hard journey. He's like, all right, we're in it together.
Oh, I got goosebumps.
So I walked out of there and I get home and I'm, laying on the floor in the living room watching TV and the 2 towers got hit that day. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like, yeah. So it was like a whole thing.
Wild. That is so wild.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
And so I'm like, what are
the odds of
bringing this child into? Like
going to an abortion clinic and the nurse ending up praying with you after you decide? Like that to me just has like God's hand written all of it. That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. What was your mom saying? Was she very much like, no, you should have gotten it? What was she like during this time?
She wanted me to keep him. She didn't want me to do the abortion. But then, again, what I was living in was still not good. I mean, it was worse at this point, which I don't even know how something like this could get worse. It got worse. There was just more and more going in and out of the house. And, so here I am about to bring a baby into it.
Yeah. And then your relationship with Derek, you guys are so young. So what happens next for you guys?
We were in it together. He really stepped up to the plate. I told him I have to drop out of high school because there's no way that, I can do, I'm not going to graduate. There's no way I'm graduating with what I had, the education I had. So I said, one of us has got to get a diploma. So you got to do it. I got to figure out how to raise this kid and get a job.
So what was your job? What did you end up getting?
When he was born, I didn't do anything up until after he was born. And I ended up I worked at the local TNT. I just worked in the deli, whatever I could get at the time at 16, 17. I had him at 17. So just whatever I could get. No license, no permit. So I walked everywhere. Everything was walking.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't have any of
Nichole. Did you, like once you decided I'm keeping him, what was going through your mind that entire 9 months? Were you ever like, oh, like I should have, I would have, or did you ever play that game in your head, or did you feel pretty confident?
I didn't play that game in my head. It was trying to figure out the next steps because I was not keeping him in here. There was no way that I was going to let this life touch my children, period. And it was, I stayed into the house until he was about a month old. And then finally I had moved out. And 7 days after I moved out, the FBI raided the house. So it was God said that I moved
to
out
get you out sooner, maybe.
Yeah.
That is so crazy.
And so we had moved out. The FBI raided the house. My mom was going to jail for a very long time. And, so we ended up moving out with Derek's family. Wow. And that was a whole different thing because they didn't like me because of the color of my skin. So that was the first time ever that I experienced racism ever in my life. Wow. And
what did that look like, if you don't mind sharing?
What did
it look like for like when you moved in there and you're saying like they had some racist tendencies?
It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough. His dad was okay with it, but his mom, she was just like, if you got rid of him, you never would have known what it was like, and all this stuff. So it was just little comments that people say, and she's like, one of the comments I thought was quite funny because she's like, if you mix chocolate milk and white milk, you're still going to get chocolate milk. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Like,
you're like, I love chocolate milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
You know, and they used the Bible against us. They were, you know,
Oh,
that you're
no.
unequally yoked. God doesn't want colored people to be with white people, and you know, and
This
so
is
they were really taking
definitely
parts of the scripture and
out of
turning it around to kind
context.
of benefit themselves. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not what that says.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Yeah. What was your faith like during this time? I mean,
Ugh.
16 already is like teen years. Just by themselves are so hard
It
without.
was shaky. It was very, very shaky. I had my doubts with God. I was struggling with God a
Yeah.
lot in the teens, going into 20s. I was very angry, more angry at the fact that I had to go through so much to get to nowhere. I still wasn't anywhere in life that I wanted to be. I was bouncing from house to house because we kept getting kicked out. And so every place that we got kicked out just solidified that abandonment, you're not enough, feeling inside of you. And it's like, dang, like when is this going to stop? Like I fought so hard I worked my tail off to be on my own because I got so tired of people saying, you're too much.
Hmm.
You can't be here. Your baby's too loud. It's time to go. And so I've worked really hard to get into my own apartment and to have that space that I can just, this is mine.
Wow. At so young.
Yeah.
So much responsibility. And the only example you had, you got ripped from.
Yeah.
As seeing a good mom. And so for you to be able to be a good mom, did you have these and your main motivation being, I don't want to be anything like my mom. What were your biggest parenting struggles?
With my son, we were growing up together. So that was a difficult, that was really difficult for me and him because we're just trying to figure out life together. I was still a kid.
Yeah.
And the only, like you said, the only goal I had was not to be like my parents. Never wanted my kid to ever touch this or have this touch him or ever feel unwanted or ever feel like he had to fight for his worth. And so it was just making sure he had that security. It was never about me. I put him first because that was that priority at the time.
And what was you and Derek's relationship like? Was these young kids trying to figure out life together? You're trying to be independent, and is he wanting to try to take care? What does that dynamic look like?
Total opposites, I'll tell you that much. He's a gamer. I hate games. Yeah. I think you and I have talked about this.
We sure have.
He's a gamer. Not at all. I'm just like, work hard, raise the kid, clean the house, whatever. I didn't have running goals or anything like that at that time. That wasn't part of my life, but it was, sit down and watch Friends as a family. Like I pictured this whole picture perfect family in my head that I saw on TV, and it was the opposite. Derek would work and come home and want to play games for freaking 8 hours. I'm like, oh Lord. Yeah. So it was hard. It was hard.
Yeah. And were you working too, or were you able to try to be home during?
No, I was working.
Yeah. Wow.
Working.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So let's move in a little bit more in the future. Parenting. Now you've got the 2 girls.
Yep.
How far apart are the kiddos?
Oh goodness. Nate and Lexi are 3. Kylie and Lexi are 5.
So you're 16, 19, and then 21?
Well, so I had Nate at 17. I had Lexi at 20-ish, I think. Yeah. And then Kylie was a surprise in my mid-20s.
Wow. So such young parenting, 3 littles, which is not for the faint of heart. So that is wild. So boom, 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 kind of. What is going on parenting-wise for you guys?
Oh, man. At this point, we finally have established, good work, good jobs in our home. And, so it was actually going pretty well. It was going pretty well. What I didn't anticipate was, the finding out infidelity and things like that in my early 20s in our marriage. Mm-hmm. I didn't see that one coming at all. And that one was a really tough curveball to have thrown into our relationship.
If you're okay with that, walk us through that, because obviously we don't shy away from hard topics, and Christians are not immune to infidelity. This is something people, I think lots of times can be like, how could that happen to someone that's fallen? But it does. It really does. So walk us through. And you guys also, you grew up together. You went through so much stress together. You're kind of trauma bonded. So
Yeah.
I imagine that the betrayal for you, it's terrible no matter what, but almost extra because this was supposed to be your safe person.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So it was after we had Lexi, I had found out that my husband had cheated on me with an ex-girlfriend while I was pregnant with my son. So this was, years later, and that was, I confronted him, did all that, and eventually he did admit to it. And it broke me. It broke me. I didn't really know how to handle it. I didn't have good examples or good people to go to at that time. And I just kind of brushed that under the rug because it was like, how do I tear apart my family that I fought so hard for? And so I brushed it under the rug and just kind of pretended like it didn't happen. I didn't do the blame game, like a lot of people do. I didn't blame him and I didn't blame her. I just wanted to pretend it didn't happen. It was easier for me to pretend that it didn't happen versus dealing with what am I doing wrong, And so that had happened, and then we dealt with a lot of pornography. He was into games and porn and things like that, and that was a really tough thing for our relationship, was dealing with that kind of stuff as well, on top of the cheating. So it's like, what is happening? And this was before we had we had just gotten married when all this had found out. So it was 2006.
Oh, man. Well, that's another thing that is so prominent right now in our culture too. So, and I know that you talked to Derek before coming on this podcast.
Yes.
You made sure. So I commend him for being able and saying like, yep, this is part of our story. And you guys, we're going to get to, light at the end of the tunnel, obviously. But I think, thank you so much for just even sharing that, because it breaks down so many walls for other people to be like, okay, we have this problem in our marriage too. And who knows who you two could be able to help walk through it. You never know who's going to come up to you on a Sunday.
I'd be like,
hey, I would love to know. So, okay, so that is happening. Now, is it getting to a point where you're like, okay, I can't sweep this under the rug anymore. We need to address this. What did it look like for you guys?
Now, going into mid-20s, surprise, I was pregnant with my daughter, Kylie. I found out getting my tubes tied that I was pregnant, so that wasn't happening.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, oh,
God had other plans.
Here we go. We're doing this again.
What do you think of the name Lexi?
Yeah. Here we go again. Yeah, I never brought up the infidelity again. It did happen again. So Kylie was born, so then 4 years later, she was 4. And it happened again, and it got brought to my attention. And at that point, I had went to my mom, so she had gotten clean for a little bit, but then had relapsed because she had neck surgery. She had relapsed. And I went to her, told her what was going on, and she had told me that I had to stay married to him because the kids need both their parents. And, I was so broken and so just completely had no self-worth. And that's when that day I hadn't drank, by the way. I hadn't done alcohol or anything up until this point. And I went to the bar and I started drinking.
Wow. This is right after you found out pregnant with Lexi.
Oh, no, I had Kylie.
Sorry.
Kylie was 4 years old at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I got pregnant with Kylie, had her. Everything was fine.
Yep.
4 years later, found out that there was more cheating going on.
So you just were like, it was almost like a breaking.
Oh, yeah. It broke me. It broke me. And I believed that I needed to stay for my kids. My kids needed to have 2 parents. And so instead of doing what in my heart I felt was right, which was to leave, to change our lifestyle, I really changed our lifestyle and started drinking.
Wow. So you're starting to use this as a crutch. You're drinking. Walk us through that. So is that when Derek starts to be like, okay, I need to fix some things on myself because Nicole is what did that look like marriage wise?
Ugh, marriage wise, I mean, we were broken, and I can't recall what it looked like for him at that time. But for me, it was, I mean, I just drank every day. Every night I'd go out and drink, come home, I'd be hungover, do it again, take an energy drink,
Wow.
start drinking at home, deal with the kids.
And Nate would have been 8?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. What did the relationship look like now with kids?
Well, when you're in it, you think you're hiding it from them. You're not. I hate to break it to you guys. You're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
They know. They know. My son hated me. He absolutely hated me. He had zero respect for me, and it went into his teen years. Hated me. Just, it was hard. But it was hard to deal with the feelings that I had. I mean, I had unhealed feelings from childhood, of unwantedness, abandonment, not worthy. Nobody wanted me. What am I doing wrong? And instead of just dealing with it, which I knew in my heart I needed help. And I remember in my late 20s, I was like, I gotta go to therapy, but I was terrified to go to therapy. So I was like, I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want, I felt like therapy was for really crazy people, not for normal people like me. We don't go to therapy.
Devil loves to shame. It looks like a great tool for him.
So I went to alcohol, and I was at the bar every night for an entire year.
Wow. And then you and Derek's marriage, what did that look like during that time? Were you kind of like...
We were coexisting.
Okay.
We were coexisting. He'd go to work, come home, I'd leave. I'd come home, he'd go to work. So we were just coexisting.
Yeah.
I had so much hate for him, so much. And I couldn't forgive somebody like that. How could you do that to me once, let alone twice? Like, oh, you hurt me like that, knowing, what I had been through.
Right.
So it was.
Yeah, we're all so broken. So he was broken in other ways, and you were broken, and it was just a perfect storm.
Yeah.
So what in the world? How do you guys get to having a good marriage now? But so was this all through your 20s? Because I know you said Nate and you struggled all through his teen years. So
yes.
So this alcohol,
So
how long?
The alcohol lasted every day for a year. And one of the nights I was at the bar, and Nate called me, my son, and he's like, hey, buddy, what's going on? He's like, Mom. He's like, when you come home, don't kill anybody, because I would drive home drunk. And I was like, wow. I was like, what? He's like, just don't kill anyone. So I'm sitting at the bar with my drink in my hand, and I hang up with him, and I put my drink down, and I was like, no more. I'm done. And I walked out of the bar, and I went home. I didn't drive home.
Wow.
I didn't drive home. I left my car. Derek came and got me, and I said, we got to move. We got to move. We got to get out of here. We got to fix some things, and I'm not doing this anymore. And I went home. I went to my bathroom, and I just dropped to my knees. And I hadn't talked to God in a while. And I dropped to my knees, and I said, God, I can't do it. Take this from me. I can't do it. And he did. I was not hungover the next day. I didn't have any urges for alcohol. A week later, I found a new home, packed my family up, and we moved to Estacada. And I said, from here on out, it's God first.
Wow.
And I started changing things. Still had a long road ahead. Still had a very long road. And at that time, I lived in Estacada, but I worked in Woodburn, so it was an hour drive. And I actually appreciated that drive, because that hour drive, I would just sit in my car and talk to God the whole way. The whole way. No music, no nothing, just me and him for this hour.
Wow. And how old were you when you finally had that surrender moment?
Ooh, I was, had to have been 27,
Oh my gosh, Nicole.
27.
It's amazing that God just can meet us in our like brokenness, but if it's a perfect surrender, it is so powerful. So that was the breaking point for you to be done with that. Now what? What did it look like marriage wise? What kind of
Ugh.
habits did you guys start putting in place?
We were still.
Was Derek 100% on board with like, yep, you're right, we do need Jesus, or was it a little bit of a push and pull situation?
No, he was on board. He was on board. It
Yeah.
was definitely something that our family had needed. And even though I got, I'd say resurrected from the alcoholism, I still had a long road. Still had a long road. And we had talked, we needed marriage counseling. And I still had so much hate and unforgiveness in my heart for him. So that did not go away. The alcoholism went away. But what I had felt for him and the betrayal did not go away. And in my heart, I was like, I gotta divorce you. I can't be married. I can't fix a marriage that's been broken over and over and over again, and that has built on lies. So we ended up divorcing. We did divorce, and he didn't fight it. I said, if we're gonna do this, we got to start over. We got to start healed. We got to start putting Jesus first. I mean, and that took years. It took years of work.
Wow.
I had to figure out how to go to therapy.
Wow.
Like,
So you divorced. Were you guys living separately then and deciding to just?
we were not living separately. No.
Okay.
We were just coexisting now in the
But
same house.
trying to just be like, you do you, I'll do me,
Yes.
with any intention to get back together
I
in the
had
future?
zero.
Okay.
I had zero.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
I had zero intentions. I was so absolutely broken. I was like, I'll never do this again.
Mm. Were you living together still mostly for the kids, would you say,
Yes.
at that point? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was the kids that kept us under the same roof. And then, we did it for a while. And then when we were about to split and go our separate ways, COVID happened. So that wasn't a thing.
Wow.
So we're like, well, we're stuck.
Wow.
Here we go.
That's crazy.
Like, we don't know what's happening.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you guys do get an official divorce and you just coexist. Do you feel like there's still tons of resentment even though you're divorced, or did you kind of let go of it over time?
No. There was a lot of resentment still, a lot of hate in the house. The kids felt it. And that was a real struggle because it was very stressful. It's a very stressful environment in the house. And I was, I knew it was easy at that time to put the blame on other people. My mom, my dad, my aunt, Derek. So it was really easy to put the blame on them for how I grew up, how I felt, and things like that. And so at that time, I decided, I think I was about 20, maybe going to or 29, maybe going to my 30s. I decided I got to go see a therapist because I'm carrying so much. And it felt heavy. I was angry. I couldn't shake that feeling. And I knew that something wasn't okay. And so I was Google searching therapist, and found the first one. I don't recommend you doing that, but found the first one, went to her. And I was with her. Do your research before going to therapy is all I'm saying. Just do your research.
That's good advice.
But I started therapy and started digging into childhood trauma. Started understanding what I was carrying with me. That was really hard.
Yeah. Wow. What were the moments where you, like, if there was a moment in time you could pinpoint and be like, that was really eye-opening for me to realize that you hadn't thought of?
Oh.
I'm sure there's a lot of them, but
I went to this therapist for about 6 months, and I hated going. It was horrible. You get these feelings that get brought up, and you're just like, God, this is just, why are we doing this? Why are these people here? Why did they just want to make you feel like crap? And so I stopped in October of that year going to therapy, and in March I had my first panic attack. And I knew something was wrong because even though I'd gone to therapy, I didn't know, she didn't teach me how to deal with things.
She just had you like
We just had to
expose the
relive
wounds.
things, expose the
leave 'em.
wounds, and then we leave them, and then we come back the next day and we do it again. So my body was done.
Yeah.
It was done. And I had my first panic attack, thought I was dying. It was horrible. And I kept having them over and over for 2 weeks. Every day I was having one. I lived in fear. It was hell living inside my body at that time because I didn't feel safe, couldn't drive, couldn't work out, couldn't run, couldn't do any of the things that made me feel good. And so I found a Christian therapist that had specialized in all this trauma and panic and anxiety. And so my first time ever, realizing anything was going to her and realizing all of it was connected to the panic. And my body was responding and puking it out and having panic attacks.
My gosh, how long did the panic attacks last? Like, so you finally, you continued to find a better therapist, which is good. But so how long did it take for these to like subside for you?
You know, I still have them. And it's not, but I now know what they are. I now know how to handle them. And I give them to God. And that's what she has taught me is, you know, she's made me appreciate having them because they're telling me that there's something I'm holding on to that I need to let go of. Wow. And by that is just giving it to God because it's not mine to carry.
Yeah. I appreciate that honesty so much. And I love that you even just said that because I think lots of times we're looking for that quick fix. Like what's going to fix it? And sometimes we do need to learn how to like sit with something, but giving it to God. So when you say I give it to God, can you give someone a tangible, let's say someone's listening that has horrible panic attacks. What helps you?
So when I start to feel my panic attacks or anything like that going on, I will literally sit in the middle of the room and Psalms 23 was and has been my favorite Bible verse. And there's a song, Psalms 23, on anxiety. And I will play that in my head. And I just start talking to God as if he's my friend. And I will literally just be like, God, this isn't mine to carry. You didn't give me anxiety. I give this to you. And I will say that over and over and over again until my body just kind of gets centered. It's just talking it out, talking the feelings out. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? And naming that and then letting it go.
Wow. So at this point, you're divorced, but you're starting to finally get some tools and get some Christian guidance, and you're starting to learn how to lean on Jesus and what that even looks like for you. Now, is Derek working on himself in the process too? What does it look like for you guys?
So yeah, he is working on himself, separately, and that's one of the things that we both have learned going through so much of life together and all the traumas was that you can't fix your partner. You can only fix yourself. You can only work on yourself. Your partner has to want to fix themselves. And I don't want to say fix, heal themselves. They have to want to heal themselves and work on themselves. And he has done a lot of that work. And but I had to worry about me. And then I had to decide I'm going to start breaking these chains for my children and my grandchildren so they aren't tainted by what I carried. And then I had to start doing the work myself.
Wow. What did it look like relationship-wise with the kids during this? When did you and Nate start healing?
When he moved out, and then the kid, I was very honest with the kids about therapy. I was all of it. I had to be upfront and honest with them, and that was really hard. And I sat them down at the dinner table, and we talked about everything. And I said, I have to go to therapy, and this is why. And my kids were so proud. They were so proud. It was I just bawled at the table. And of course, my daughters, they're like me. They'll cry if anybody's crying. But they were just so proud that I was seeking the help that I needed to become better.
Man, I love that so much because I think with teens, people often think like, oh, I like as a parent, like they've already, because they have great BS detectors, especially teens. So for them to see like, oh, mom's, actively trying to follow Jesus and she's changing, I bet that was so powerful for them.
Yeah, it was. And one of the things that I've always taught the kids was to help them find their own voice, because I didn't have one when I was younger. So I taught that to my kids. I didn't know what that looked like, but I wanted them to have their own voice. I wanted them to be able to voice their feelings, because when you're younger, it's so important to know how to voice how you feel, because as you get older, if you don't know, well, you act out. And you're acting out like a toddler because you want to be heard. So you're throwing a fit. You're coming at it angry or aggressive, or you're making bad choices that you shouldn't be making. And so I had to teach that and instill that into the kids. And so then when I was going through therapy, I was telling them, this is my way of finding my voice to get it out.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's very apparent that you have taken this journey very seriously, and it's amazing the different direction you could have gone, but you chose to surrender to God, and it's wild because you've got a healthy marriage now, and your relationship with your kids looks way better now. So for people that are like maybe in the broken spot listening, what were some of the shifts? How did you get from that to where you're at now, 10 years later from that?
Oh gosh, time. It's all time, and it's surrendering every day. It's not instantaneous.
Yeah.
It's surrendering. Forgiveness is a big one. And you and I kind of talked about this. It took me years to forgive my mom, forgive her for everything that she did. And when I finally forgave her for the 500th millionth time, she's got cancer. She's fighting cancer, and I went and saw her, and I was so anxious to go see her, so anxious. And I almost didn't. And I get to her, and I'm talking with her, and it was like God had just taken everything that I hated about her and just took it off of me. And I looked at her through a different lens, and I was like, wow, she's so fragile, and she's so broken, and she's trying to seek Jesus in this journey of hers now. And I just loved her. I had a different love for her. Yeah. But yeah, so time and forgive over and over and over again.
So many powerful things just in what you just said, Nichole, but the two things that really hit me is choosing forgiveness over and over, because I think that's really important for people to understand, is it's not a one and done.
No.
And so
we want it to be.
Right, that would be nice. And then you talking about seeing your mom through this different lens, I can only attribute that 100% to like you allowing the Holy Spirit to be in you, because we don't see that through our own lens, So that's really powerful that you're able to see her in the way that God sees her. So that's really special. But I don't want to leave people hanging. I know I could I could keep Nichole here all day, but talk us how, because you're obviously married again.
Not married.
Oh, okay.
Not
okay, but back
Still
together.
Working through things. Yes.
Still working through things.
Still working through things. And that's okay.
Yeah. So when did you guys decide I want to do life together?
Oh gosh. Recently, actually. Recently.
Wow.
That we decided, okay. We came together, we talked about the things that people should talk about in relationships before they get into one anyway, is what are your goals, life goals, and where do you want to be, as a child of God. And so him and I, we sat down like for the first time as if we're first coming together on our first date. We're like, all right, we're new people. We're not the same as we came, back in the beginning. Not the same as we are back in the beginning. This is what I want, which is God first. And then I want our family to be as one, no matter what. We make decisions together. And we always communicate. Communicate is huge. And forgiveness every day. Because you're never going to not be mad at your spouse, but we have to choose to forgive every day. And we do not hold it over anybody's head.
Yeah.
You forgive and let it go.
Yeah.
And we both had the same goals. And so we're working on them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody's ever going to perfectly have it made.
No.
No. But yes, absolutely. And I mean, the Bible's pretty clear about forgiveness. I mean, there's countless verses on it. So before I wrap up, I would love to just hear something that you would tell someone who is in any shoes that you've been in with. Maybe they're listening and they're in that period that you were not actively searching for God. You were mad. What advice do you have for people that have been through hard things and are not they're not in the place right now. They're still at that angry, does God even do anything for me? Like, what advice do you have for someone? What
Oh,
would you tell someone, or what would you have told yourself? I guess could be a better one.
it's okay to be angry. And God is still there. He's with you always. But it's most important to let it go and forgive. It really is. And to know that you're not going to be here forever. You're not going to be in this situation forever. And that this situation you will one day use to help someone else.
Well, I think that's exactly what you're doing, Nichole. So where can people find you? If somebody's like, I actually would love to talk to Nichole about whatever I'm going through, where's a good spot for them to reach you?
Oh, come to Foothills,
Yeah.
9:30. 9:30 on Sunday. I will be here.
She's like, I'm not giving you my Instagram handle. Yes. Okay. Well, I am so grateful. Thank you so much for coming on and being just so willing to share your story. I know it's not easy, and we open up a lot of wounds. So be praying for Nichole if you're listening. We want to cover this lady in lots of prayers, and I appreciate the authenticity you brought. And just like nobody is listening thinking that you have it perfectly together, but you have given so much hope at the same time, though, because you're farther from that brokenness and you're actively working on yourself and have done so much work. And it's apparent that you lean on God for all these things. And I love that so much about you. So anyways, anything else you want to leave them with before we wrap it up?
I think I said it all.
All right. Well, if you guys loved this episode, like I know you did, make sure to share it in your group chat. Give us a follow, and we will be back next week with another episode. Thanks, guys.
Bye.